So I used to do this all the time, and it cost me 2 co-founders, led to hundreds of hours of frustration and stress, and led to 2 failed side projects. And it's really nothing in comparison to how much money this has cost lots of early stage startups. And that is the mistaken belief that building the right thing is the same as building the thing right. When you're starting a business or when you're starting a startup, you have 3 main priorities: building the right thing, building the thing right, and finally, building things fast. Building the thing right is making sure that whatever you decide to build actually works the way you promised. Building the right thing is building something that your customers want, and building things fast is really just building things fast, making sure your product is being built quickly enough to meet customer demand. In an early stage context, like a new business or a new startup, your main goal is probably to build something people want. So building the right thing. And while there's nothing wrong with trying to build something that your customers want, what's wrong is how that goal is achieved. So you're probably wondering, why do a lot of people end up building things people don't want? It's because people need to be right. A lot of founders, a lot of business people feel the need to be right. And that's very dangerous, because what you end up doing in that scenario is you spend all your resources on something that actually doesn't fit with your market. But you think, oh no, like I have this idea, it must work because it's my idea. Well, ideas don't really matter. Ideas are useless without market validation. And that's really the problem that a lot of people face. They think the idea matters too much. They think the idea matters more than the execution. They think having an idea is what leads to a successful startup. Well, that's not really the case. It's really the market validation that leads to a success in startups, in business. It's not about the idea. And that's probably why people end up doing things the other way around. Instead of building the right thing, they build the thing right, but it's an idea that they had in their minds without any market validation whatsoever. And it was this conviction that led them down this path of wasting all their resources on one thing that the market never wanted in the first place. And you can't really blame them, because there are all these successful companies out there that you think were built on ideas. Well, that wasn't really the case. If you look at all these successful startups, all these successful businesses, a lot of them started off from very humble beginnings. If you look at Airbnb, for example, while they had an idea, it took 3 years to take off because they were still in search of market validation. And they were really in the process of addressing market needs in response to their idea, not trying to force feed their idea to potential customers. But that's not really talked about. What's really talked about is, oh, there are all these companies that had these great ideas, and then these great ideas were somehow accepted by the market and they got lucky. No. These companies went through probably thousands of product development cycles and iterations to get to where they are today. And these iterations were crucial because they were what allowed these companies to learn from their customers, to learn about what works and what doesn't, and then refine their products as a result. So now we know why people build the wrong thing. What's the solution here? Like, how do you get to a point where you're actually on track to building the right thing and not just producing output for the sake of output, for this feeling of progress without really getting to your customer? Well, the answer is actually quite simple. It's to focus on building things quickly, releasing them to the market, and seeing their response. The market is always right. You are always wrong. 2 failed side projects showed me this. So my previous side project, for instance, led to a fully developed MVP that nobody wanted. Now, it solved the problem, and I think in retrospect it was the right way to solve the problem, but I didn't talk to users enough, and I didn't get the market validation I needed to build what I had built. I had built something because I thought it was the right thing to do, but it was because I had an idea that I followed, and not really market needs and user feedback that led to the idea. Contrast that to what I have now, which is a restaurant map that shows you a bunch of different restaurants in New York City that you probably never heard of but are worth trying. That came after almost 2 years of market validation, of building a community behind this idea, of talking to users who were interested in this idea, and then releasing an MVP that took like 3 minutes to build but led to over 49,000 page views, all organically driven. Now that is market validation. The right approach is focusing on market needs, focusing on market validation, and less so on the engineering output that you are creating. So in short, how do you make sure you're building the right thing? You listen to the market. It's your customer feedback that matters, not how pretty your features are, how pretty your products are, how well refined they are. If they don't meet a need that you're trying to meet, they won't matter. Whatever you've done, how many hours you've spent on design, on UI UX, on the complexity of your code base, if nobody wants your product because you've never interacted with the market in the first place, because you probably have no understanding of the problem you're trying to solve, then your product will fail. Understanding this, understanding one thing out of this video, which is the market is always right, releasing quickly, getting the market feedback you need, taking that and building based on the feedback you're getting instead of based on your assumptions and convictions. So understanding that the market is always right and you are always wrong, that is what will help drive your product development to a point where you actually end up building the right thing, not just building things right. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.